am your Foxy writer, Brandy Ackerley. I'm an author, a VTuber, and I stream weekly on Twitch. Oh, that week off just rejuvenated me so much. Oh, but it's so good to be back reading my book to you guys again. Yes! Okay, so I said 2 weeks ago that I wasn't feeling all that great, wasn't feeling all that confident, but that I had finally gotten my novel back from my editor. That's why I was feeling incredibly down. Fortunately, I was right in my assessment that given a couple of days, I would feel way better about the feedback afterwards. I started working on it Tuesday, Wednesday. I've gotten tons of work done on it. The first thing I did, though, was go through her responses and then, like, put it down for a day or two. Then I went through them again, slower the next day, and wrote down notes with all of her suggestions. It came to 2 pages worth of suggestions. Oh. Since then, I've started going through the chapters and reading each from start to finish. I've been fixing the easy things along the way. I've been writing notes to myself for, like, things to remember, and I've written out what the chapters are doing and whose POV they're from and where they are in the timeline. The timeline really needed to be working on. Really needed to be worked on. That was really one of the important things that needed to be fixed. I sort of had a couple of things happening out of sequence, and it was confusing. So yeah, I've been working on that. I've also been putting the notes in post-its on my notebook, and from there I've been able to go through them and, like, moving the chapters where they should be and noting which chapters are going to get deleted and which ones are going to get cut down to, like, a couple of paragraphs and I can fit other stuff in there. It's a lot of work. Oh, and I haven't even been able to add in the actual new chapters yet to deal with the storylines I've forgotten to add into the chapters, like to the version that I sent her. So that too. Unfortunately, I haven't gotten to talk to my editor yet. But I'm hoping to do it soon, so I can actually go over what she meant by a few of her comments and just find out what her ideas are, if she has any on how to fix them. Oh, I cannot wait, Until then, like I said, I've been working at rewriting the things I know need to be done, and then I can get started on her stuff as soon as we thought. Oh, I'm so excited to be working on it, though. I have so much to do. I'm so busy. Lots to do, but lots is getting done as well. I'm not quite done going through the novel yet, mainly because I decided to finish working on my Halloween costume this week, since I knew that, like, needed to be done this month. I've also been working on a couple of pictures that I need to finish making for Twitch. I've not done them yet, and honestly, they're just literally getting worked on in, like, literal free time. When I'm sitting down, like, taking a couple of minutes off watching television, I'll take out that and work on them. I will be talking about and showing off my Halloween costume next week, though. I'm so excited to show all of you. I've been working so hard on it. You have no idea. Watch out for that. It's going to be amazing. I'm going to be wearing it for the 2 weeks leading up to All Hallows Eve. I will be probably releasing it as well, but I will let you know when and where next week. But enough about that for now. Okay, in the first half of Hunter's Gambit, we met Kitsune-Ken, bastard daughter of the Tanaka clan. Her sister Himiko had just taken over the title of family matriarch, leaving Kitsune-Ken drifting without a place that she could call home. That night, she witnessed men following a stranger to town with obvious intent to harm. She stepped in to try and help him out and saved him, and took him to one of the best healers in town after he was injured. When Richard had healed enough, he asked Kizuna to go searching for a hidden treasure nearby with him. In the last chapter, just before we went on our break, they were finally ready to leave the city. We continue our story, actually with a different character, now. Okay, let me just pull the book up here. Perfect! Perfect! There we go. Isashi had been enjoying the golds and blues of an early sunset when the scent of rotting meat surrounded her. She steeled herself and grit her teeth. There were two things that would smell like that out here. One was a benign hazard, and the other was an unknown threat. She took another sniff, twisting her face at the scent. Dorita berries grew on a small bush in the wilds around Hidan. They started as tiny white pearls and grew to a purple ball the size of an adult goblin's bulbous eyeball. The berries were coveted by healers for their pain-relieving properties, and by alchemists for their paralyzing poison that they could be made into when the berry was overripe. Isashi followed the scent. She was only 4 hours or so outside Hidan. Helpful plant Dorina may be, but this one was too close to the city. While most wouldn't be stupid enough to eat the berries, anyone that did wouldn't live very long. The plant's scent of carrion drew predators, and the berries would put anyone who consumed them to sleep. Thorny roots would then wrap around the creatures and squeeze them to death, burying them under the plant if they could. They needed blood and decay beneath their leaves to grow well. The plant was only dangerous if you had fallen asleep beside it. The vines moved slowly while they tangled their prey. It would need to be burned out. When the scent became strong enough, Isashi slowed and judged that had to be in the next clearing. If there were any monsters near it that hadn't been knocked out yet, she didn't want to startle them into attacking her. She looked into the clearing, and her heart fell into her stomach, making her gag. 2 dead bodies lay on the ground, human and not monstrous. She took out a cloth and made a mask to cover her nose and mouth. Then she took out the gloves that she'd kept deliberately to deal with dead bodies, and moved quietly into the clearing. Both bodies had been rotting for weeks now. 2, maybe 3, judging by the damage. The first was wearing the clothes of a Hidan native. In particular, one of the vagrants was a Hidan native. Though she didn't know his name, she knew of his uncle. He was one of the people that she refused to deal with. He had his fingers in every shady pie that cooked in Hidan. The sheriffs kept him around to talk to if something particularly bad happened. She sighed. He was also openly racist. She couldn't deal with him. Someone else would have to tell him. She moved to the other body. Though it had looked human from a distance, now she realized that the green skin tone wasn't due to rot, but was its natural color. Its eyes had been plucked out, and its hair was a color closer to blue than black. She counted. 5 fingers, 5 toes. The ears were pointed, and the creature was covered by something like the fur of a caterpillar. It wasn't human, but it was too close to human for comfort. A shifter. She sat back on her heels, frowning. Some of the most terrifying stories involved shifters. They looked human right up till the point when they turned on you. Most monsters lacked human intelligence and could be identified at a distance. A small few looked human, or near enough. They could put on the trappings, but they would never be human, would never be as accepted as the Eladar were. Isashi shivered. Isashi backed up and evaluated the scene again. The boy had come and not fled, thinking he saw another human. The creature had attacked him, and there had been a fight, but clearly both had taken wounds. She couldn't tell who'd won. The human looked like he'd been poisoned by something, and the other looked as if he'd been stabbed in the stomach. A particularly horrible way to die. After falling, they'd separated, both hoping to catch their breath, not knowing that they'd both taken deadly wounds. She would have to bring the sheriff out to handle the boy's remains. She would need to bring the hunters as well. She was the youngest hunter in town, despite doing this job for over 10 years now. Regardless, with something this odd, they would want to see the truth with their own eyes. She stepped to the edge of the clearing and saw something white sticking out of the grass. A half-destroyed missive. The writing was difficult to make out. It had been written in a fast, heavy hand, and tiny bits of ink-marked sand still stuck to the sheet. Clearly, it hadn't even been given the time to dry. Have tracked your lost property to Hidan. He's holed up in the inn. Too busy to take him. We'll move as soon as we can. Keep the messenger if you like. A gift in return for your patience. It wasn't signed, but it had a date on it. The 1st of Blonimum. Nearly a month ago, just 2 days before Himiko's Majority Day. Isashi's mind ran with the possibilities. The stranger, Richard, was the only likely one that they could mean. It also meant that she'd misjudged the age of the bodies here. Keep the messenger. A gift. Slavery was illegal in Hidan. There were a few indentured servants, of course, but there were laws to make sure that they were given more than a free chance to leave their servitude if they chose. Even if the stranger had been indentured, it still wouldn't have made him property. Neither would it have given his captor an excuse to keep the boy who'd been hired to deliver a message. She checked his body. 4 gold coins and an impressive amount of silver. They'd paid him well to deliver a message to someone outside of town. Had the shifter been the one to whom the message was meant for? Or had he come upon the boy out in the woods and attacked unprovoked? She sighed and pocketed the money. It would go toward the boy's funeral rites. Knowing the boy's uncle, the family would only come forward after everything had been paid for. Isashi set up signs for her fellow hunters, so that they would know one of their own had already found the grisly scene, and she set off at a run towards Hidan. She needed to know more, especially if Kizuna were involved. There we go! Okay, let me just put the book down here. Perfect! Okay, so our first week back, we didn't get to hang out with Kizuna or Richard, but Isashi. I think this is the first time that we've actually gotten to see Isashi in this novel, but the first time that we've actually seen her from her perspective. I admit that Isashi is a secondary character, but I love showing her, basically because it's so different than all of the other characters in the book. I particularly like her chapters since she's always dealing with issues like that the other characters would never even consider focusing on. She thinks about the world outside of the city a lot more than the other characters do, and that's part of why I love her so much. Other reasons too, but they will come up later. Anyways, that's going to be it for this week. It's so great to be back! I hope you've all, had a good 2 weeks and you're, good to see me back too. As always, I would love to see your comments below. And if you enjoyed this episode, please help the YouTube algorithm out and me by sharing or subscribing if you haven't already, okay? I will see you